Alright guys, in this video we're going to start off with a little example problem here. The new LeBron 16s just came out, so thought that might be relevant to what we're talking about. So LeBron 16s come out, you want to buy a pair, worked a few hours over the summer, and you have $175 left in your bank account. And I found these coupons online. You should never pay full price for anything really. But anyway, so here's a couple coupons I found. One is 15% off when you spend $75. The other one's $20 off when you spend $120. So both of them are good. And sometimes stores will let you use multiple coupons. So that's the scenario that we're going to look at here. If the shoes cost $220 retail before the coupons are applied, we want to know how much, really how much they're going to be. Do we have enough money to buy them? So we're going to look at this a couple different ways. The first way we're going to look at this is we're going to take our $220 price tag and we're going to try to figure out what happens. So this is like scenario A. What happens if we apply that first coupon of 15% off and then $20, take $20 off of that price? So I'm going to start with the price of my shoes, so that's my $220. And the first thing again I'm going to do is I'm going to take 15% of that. So how do I do that? Well, I multiply 0.85 by my price because that gives me the total price after I take the 15% off. So 220 times 0.85 is going to give me my price after I apply that 15% off. All right, so here's my first one. The second one is I'm going to take $20 off of whatever that price is. Okay, so minus the $20. So I go through and I do the math. Plug that into your calculator, and all of a sudden you come up with a price of $167 for scenario A. So that one looks good. Let's take a look at what happens when we flip this. So we're looking at the order in which we apply these two discounts, or the order in which we apply the math here is. We're going to see how it affects the total price of these shoes. So I'm going to take my 220. This is scenario B. I'm going to flip these two. I'm going to take my 220. That's the price of my shoes. And now instead of applying the 0.85 first, I'm going to subtract $20 from it. Okay? So I got parentheses with the 220. I probably don't need those, but that's okay. We'll just use brackets here. So the first thing I'm going to do is work inside the parentheses. And mathematically, this is how we represent it. So we use those brackets to say, hey, this is coming first. And then secondly, we're going to take 0.85 or 85% of whatever this price is. And you can hopefully do that in your head. That's 200. 220 minus the $20 from the $20 off coupon is 200. And then we take that 0.85 and we apply it, and 85% of 200 is $170. So not a huge difference in price here. If I want to save a little bit of money, obviously I don't have much more than what the price is, and even actually with tax you might not even be able to afford that. But that's the price that I want. And if you think about it, the price that the store wants is probably this one. And what they do, if you look back up at the coupons, is a lot of times in this little details thing right here, they'll tell you basically that you have to apply it in this particular order because they don't want to lose as much money on it. Either way, our focus right here is that you get a different answer depending on which order you apply these coupons. And in math terms, you get a different answer based on how you apply our math. Okay? So hopefully this is a review for you. If not, no big deal. We're going to go through it real quickly right here. But PEMDAS is the thing that helps us remember what order we should do things in. And we're going to look at how we apply this, or in what order we apply this within this particular problem over here. Okay, so I'm asking you to solve for y when you know that x is 0. And all that means is solve y, find out y when x is 0. So all that means is I'm just going to take 0 and plug it in for x. Okay? Another word used here is evaluate. So the first thing that we want to do is we're going to plug in our 0 for this thing, and I'm just going to rewrite this, and we're going to have 3 times 0 plus 2 squared minus 1. So this is kind of our new equation. We've taken our value, we've plugged it in. So let's take a look at what order we want to operate here. The first thing that we do is always operate within the parentheses. So we're going to operate within those parentheses. I take my 0 and I plug that in, and my equation all of a sudden becomes 3 times 0 plus 2 simplifies to 3 times 2. I've still got my exponent up here, minus 1. Okay, so always operate within the parentheses first. The second thing we're looking for are any exponents in that expression or the equation. Okay, so I've got y equals this thing, and now we're going to look at exponents. And we already did some work. I wrote that simplified version down here. So our next thing is simplify the exponents. So very simply, I just want to apply this exponent to the 2. And I know that 2 squared is 4, so rewriting this, I've got y equals 3 times 4 minus 1. 3 times 4 minus 1. All right, the next two things actually are kind of grouped together. So multiplication and division are the next two that we're going to look for, and we don't necessarily have to go in that order. In fact, the order that we go in is left to right. So the first operation that you see on the left of this equation is the one that you're going to do regardless of whether it's multiplication or division. So we're going to work left to right within the equation in this. I go through here. I only see one multiplication. Remember, there's an assumed multiplication sign there. So I'm just going to simplify that. So I multiply these two things. I've got y equals 3 times 4, which I know is 12, minus 1. That's a simplified version. And then I'm looking for any more division as I go left and right, and I don't see any. But if we did have any, that's what we would look for, is division next. So parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division are grouped together. You're looking for the first one left to right to do first. And then after those two, you're looking for addition and subtraction. Again, these two are grouped together. So addition, I don't see any addition in here, but I do see subtraction. And again, these are grouped together. So I'm going to go ahead and perform the subtraction, and I get y equals 12 minus 1, that's 11. So I know when x is 0, my y value is going to be 11. Circle that answer in order to finish up. All right, so hopefully, again, this PEMDAS here is review for you, but that's how we remember in what order we want to operate. All right, a couple example problems. We want to evaluate each of the following expressions for the given value of x. And all evaluate really means is take this value, plug it in wherever you see an x. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, this might be new notation to you. You can really just think of this as y equals. So this is f of x equals 3x squared minus 2. We want to evaluate this thing. We can think of it as y equals. So f of, and again, this is new notation, we're going to plug in a 6 wherever we see an x. So all this means is when I plug in a 6, this is what my equation looks like. 3 times 6 squared minus 2. So I took the 6, I plugged it in wherever I see an x. So f of 6, I'm evaluating this function for an x value of 6, is equal to 3 times 6 squared minus 2. So this is where our order of operations comes in. If you remember, it's PEMDAS. Okay, so I'm going to look for parentheses first. I don't see any. I'm going to move on to exponents, and I definitely see an exponent. So we want to go ahead and take care of that. So f of 6 is going to be equal to 3 times, I know 6 times 6 is 36, minus 2. Moving on, do we have any multiplication? Yeah, we do. That multiplication's right there. So f of x, f of 6, is equal to 3 times 36. I don't know what that is in my head, so I'm just going to do a little scratch work off to the side. 3 times 3 is 9, that's 108. 108 minus 2. And then I move along to addition and subtraction. I see obviously subtraction there, no addition. So f of 6 equals 106. That's my final answer, and I'm going to box that or circle it or something there at the end. So again, we go through PEMDAS, make sure you apply those in the correct order. And I know that whenever x is 6, my y value, or f of x, is 106. One more example, then we're done. Evaluate each of the following. Again, evaluate, all that means is plug it in. So I take my x value, wherever I see an x, I'm going to plug in a 2. I know that this means f of 2. So when I plug 2 into the function, That's all f of 2 means. I want to figure out what my output is, what my outcome is there. So a little bit different here. So we're going to go ahead and plug in. Remember, we've got PEMDAS, so this is the order. So the first thing we're looking for is parentheses. I have parentheses in this one. It's 2 minus 5. So go ahead, and we know 2 minus 5 is equal to negative 3. And let's move on. Parentheses are taken care of. No exponents in this one, so we're good there. Looking for multiplication and division. So here we've got both. We've got multiplication and division. All right, so what we're going to do, this basically reads, if you were going to write this in a different way, this reads as 4 times negative 3 divided by 2. Okay? So we're going to take care of the stuff on the left first. So that means that we want to multiply the numerator first. So I know that f of 2 is going to be equal to negative 12. So there's my multiplication over 2 plus 3. And now I take care of the division. And I've got f of 2 equals negative 6. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6 plus 3. And then addition and subtraction, I'm looking for those. This is addition. You've got a negative number in there. Either way, I'm going to finish up, and I know f of 2 is equal to negative 3. So there's my answer again. When I plug in a 2, when x is 2, that's all this notation means, I know that my output is negative 3.